The very latest around the country. There are troops now on the streets of DC. Is everybody taking troops from Mr. Trump's offer?
So no, Manus, they're not. I mean, in New York, they're very much relying on the police force, and that has been a point of contention on Tuesday. New York Governor Cuomo was pretty vocal in saying that the police were ineffective on Monday and Tuesday in how they handled riots. But, we have not seen the National Guard deployed in New York. When it comes to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. specifically, the Pentagon basically confirmed that active Army units were moved into the region around D.C., but they haven't actually been deployed yet. They're in bases around the city, but not actually on the streets of D.C. They're essentially waiting and seeing what happens. But there is a heavy National Guard presence in Washington, D.C., largely focused around national monuments. There has been some light interaction, in the last couple of hours, especially in the area immediately outside of the White House, light clashes with protesters. But largely throughout the day, protests here in California, in Los Angeles, San Francisco, in other cities in the Midwest and East Coast have been pretty peaceful. But as you said, there are active military personnel standing by, and it's kind of at odds with what the Pentagon briefed earlier in the day, where they tried to put some distance between the president's suggestion that the military would be deployed and, the briefing from the Pentagon earlier was that the National Guard was the preference when it comes to handling these protests.
Ed, downtown in New York, as well as I took a walk on Madison and Fifth, store after store is boarded up. Are there any signs this will directly impact the economy?
So I suppose two pieces of good news were that Chicago will go ahead with the next phase of reopening its economy on Wednesday. There was some question over whether that would happen, but the city's mayor confirmed it would. New York City is still on track to enter phase one of reopening its economy on June the 8th, and Cuomo made a point today in his briefing that is surprising given everything that's going on, but a positive move. The bottom line here is that we haven't seen any economists really marking down forecasts for the U.S. economy based on the rioting, right? We've discussed in the previous days that state and municipal finances are impacted severely by COVID-19, additional spending on healthcare. Now states and cities have to factor in the cost of damage from these riots, additional policing, but there are green shoots in the economy. The housing market is starting to wake up with mortgage rates so low. There are signs in the restaurant industry that diners are returning, particularly in states where the economies are reopening. But there has been no fundamental shift from economists tracked by Bloomberg in where they see the U.S. economy going overall from where it was already impacted by COVID-19. I think the latest forecast is that by the end of the year, the economy will have shrunk by 5.7% relative to 2019. So right now, the focus is really on getting back to reopening the economy and mitigating the effects of the pandemic. Hopefully, curfews, which have been extended, for example, in New York, the curfew runs right through until June 8th, those will start to be curtailed.
Yeah.